Welcome back, everybody, to the Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. I know we always say, like, oh, it's been a massive gap since we've published a podcast, but it has been.
I think don't even mention it. Just
I already
just
have done.
It. Move on. Yeah, it's been a little gap.
Yeah, so apologies for that. But as such, I think today, given that like the new bike news has died off anyway, maybe we'll just do a bit of an extended catch-up, Tim.
Happily. Yeah, it's been a while. It's always just nice having a chat with you about bikes.
Exactly. And we've texted a bit, but, you know, I've been missing it. It's been like nearly 2 months now.
Yeah. It doesn't feel that long because I was editing the video where we went out and rode the each other's bikes recently. So it sort of felt like I had you, or like that we'd touched base since then, but obviously it was just me reliving the glory days of riding through Oxford.
That was a good little day out. Yeah,
it was a good day.
So I saw your review as well. It went pretty nicely. I thought you made a good video of that one. So
thank you.
Oh, and also you said you hit 10,000 subs.
I did. Yeah, I kind of I hadn't checked it in a while. Probably you get the same thing. You probably get like periods of time where you get a bit obsessive and you check it constantly and just sort of see how the numbers are doing, especially after you've maybe posted a new video.
Definitely.
And it was a little while since I'd checked, so I hadn't really been keeping tabs on it. But then I saw that I was like 50 away from 10,000. I was like, oh, it's gonna happen.
How long did that take? The last 50?
Well, the last 50 wasn't too bad actually, because I checked it once I uploaded the Trident. So if you post something new, obviously it promotes a lot of your videos and stuff. So it unsurprisingly went up a little bit quicker. But no, it was the last 3. That was the funny one. I've texted my mate and I was like, oh, I'm 3 away. And he was like, oh, great, I'm just going to unsubscribe. And I was like, oh, really funny. And then I checked and it had gone down to 4. I was like, hey, were you taking the piss or did you actually do it? And he did, just for a laugh. But it's nice to see that even down to the individual person, if someone leaves, you can track it. It's not a made up figure. It really is down to the exact numbers.
That is good to know. I have heard of this as well, where if people post on their Instagram saying, I'm nearly on X amount of subs on YouTube, can people go over and subscribe? Like, I've seen a few times people report back that it's gone down because people either just mess with them or don't like the begging, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe they're just messing, but it's kind of funny, but it is kind of mean. But yeah, no, luckily he resubscribed, so he's back on the channel now.
That's good.
I went over the 10,000. So.
Some people just like to play God, don't they?
But it felt good. I don't know how yours was quite quick. I feel when you sort of really dialed into the and really focused on your channel. I feel like you crossed that threshold quite quickly, and then it just sort of like shot up from there.
Yeah, we hit 150 the other day. So
fair play, man.
Yeah, that was good. But I didn't post anything about it. I just thought, I don't know if it's significant enough, is it? Did you do anything to celebrate though?
Yeah, I had a whiskey. It was lovely. I had something in the house.
Smokehead?
Yeah, no, that's actually all gone because I liked it too much. I've used it all.
You got used to it.
But no, I'm trying to think, to be honest with you. I need to think of something to kind of mark it. And I can't necessarily think. I don't want to go too big. I remember thinking a while back. I was like, well, maybe I could do like a 10,000
mile ride.
And then I looked it up and I was like, oh no, that's insane. I was like, maybe 10,000 kilometers instead. And I was like, that's still quite big.
10,000 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it in feet, and I'll just go down the road. But no, I need to think of something to kind of celebrate it. And to be honest with you, I kind of feel like maybe doing a trip would be a nice way to do that. But I might end up doing something simple, like just sort of watching my first review back, which would be
oh, that's
cringy.
a good idea.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember whenever I have watched older videos back after the fact, it's nice to see how much you've progressed from early days of editing.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched a few of mine back and I quite liked the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing. So it was like less professionally delivered and I wasted a lot of time in my videos. The advice is always to get straight to the point of like what you're trying to deliver. But in my older videos, there are certainly more, you know, like bloopers. I'd leave them in and almost try and make a feature out of them by putting little comments and sort of titles over them and stuff like that. And there were a few more trips with my wife and random sort of little DIY things on the bike. So it was less focused, but in a way more fun to watch because of it.
Yeah, no, I can get that. Yeah, I think same thing. Yeah, once you get a little bit too professional in a way, not to kind of blow your own trumpet, but when you get a bit too professional, you sort of lose the personality. It's hard to get the balance between the two of them,
Which
as you say.
brings us nicely onto the fact that I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I just moved all my moto vlogs onto a new channel.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called MOTOBOB Vlogs. It's not. I think it's about to come up to 1,000 subscribers.
Cool.
And I haven't promoted it. Everyone, like, I say everyone's going on it. No, not everybody. Like, a few people are going on it and saying, like, oh, I didn't know about this channel. You should promote it more. But the reason I started it was because whenever I do a review, I'll look at the analytics and it's performing really well. And then when you get to the section that's me on the bike talking about it, sort of moto vlogging, it always does really badly.
I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, people are asking me to do more on the bike footage, yet it kills the retention on my videos. And so I thought the only way to do it would be to start a new channel and not promote it at all. Because then the people who subscribe aren't just doing it because I said they should or suggested that they should or promoted it. They're doing it because they found that type of video. Maybe they know my other videos, but they subscribe because they genuinely enjoy moto vlogs. And I'm hoping that means that when those videos do get shown to my subscribers, the click-through rate's going to be better, the retention's going to be better, and that'll hopefully mean that my kind of on the bike stuff will do better in the YouTube algorithm because it's got good indications, rather than going out to people who are used to the voiceovers and that kind of thing and them just not really watching it, and then it kind of kills it. So that's my thinking, but it's interesting starting from scratch again. Overthinking.
No, you do. They're like I just sort of haphazardly well, we'll see if it works. You've got a real good plan and sort of methodology to it. That works. I can see that working, and it's nice. And it is a very different video doing the motovlog stuff. And I tend to put both of them on my video. So what I tended to do the last few that I've done is I will do a riding video of just being on the bike, and then I'll do like a catch up critique, where I, maybe throw in more facts and stuff like that. Statistics.
This is kind of it. Like the challenge I've been finding, because I've been full time on YouTube, 3-4 weeks now, something like that. I can't even keep count. It's just absolutely flying by, and I've just got like no time to stop and think about it. I can't believe how busy I've become. But a big part of dialing it in, dialing my processing is like, how can I be more efficient? And I've been finding that if I'm going out riding for the day, I need to pick a decent route. And then what I do is moto vlog for like an hour, and that's one video in the bag. But also it's a kind of rehearsal for actually doing a more formalized review. You sort of assemble your thoughts a bit more and come up with a few things to say. And then I usually find somewhere to pull over, shoot the review for the main channel, and then do my Instagram photos and thumbnails there, and then try and get home to edit in the afternoon. And I've not quite got it nailed yet, but I think that's the way that, because you can't film a review without riding the bike, so I have to put the miles in. So then I was thinking, well, I'm not moto vlogging yet, I'm riding around all the time, yet some people are asking to see more of that stuff. So it's really just trying to kind of balance out what everybody wants to see and what works well and what's time efficient. I mean, we've talked in the past about the fact that sending drones up and doing sort of flyby type video where you put your camera at the side of the road and ride past, that takes so much time to do for like a really short clip, unless you've got someone out filming with you. So I've kind of canned all that as well, because it's just too much hassle, and the stress of leaving gear by the road as well, just can't deal with it.
It's expensive stuff, unless like you might be sort of all right with sticking a GoPro, because someone might not even notice that. But if you're taking your Sony, sticking it on a tripod and leaving it somewhere, then
So I've just been trying to get simple footage, but like try and be consistent and just get great bikes on great locations and roads.
You say that, I did see, maybe it's a little while back, but obviously I was watching your Trident video, and I remember seeing quite a few little nice like hedgerow shots where it was like you'd stuck your GoPro in a hedgerow and ridden past it. So you're not going to do as much of that, because it does look nice, but I get what you mean with the effort, and the one-man band thing becomes quite difficult.
Yeah, and it's like, why try and compete with Revzilla or something, where they're going out with two of them and they've got a cameraman as well. I'm not doing that, so there's no need to try and slog my guts out and risk my camera gear to try and make it look like I am. And so just lean into the stuff you're good at, which is like the B-roll and the,
Yeah.
the edits are decent, my presentation's getting better, and don't try and do that stuff that is, time intensive massively and also
Really, massively.
big risk.
You get home knackered, don't you? Which is a shame because then you haven't really enjoyed the bike either.
So when we used to go out riding together, what was pretty good was shooting one lot of B-roll, and then also it was really quick for me to stand there with the camera and you ride past like a bunch of times, and then we both use that footage. So it's quicker to capture, and two people are getting use out of it. So I felt like that was, it was really good. But also, obviously you're a bit further away now and super busy, but there are people to meet up and ride with around here, but I just need to be ruthlessly quick in the days. I don't like spending 2 hours, whiling away a coffee. I haven't got time.
If you don't need to, that's the thing. It's using your time. If you have to, if there is no other way of doing it, then you can sort of justify the time and you can just sort of write it off. But if you really don't need to, and it's not really giving you anything extra for putting that much extra effort in, it's the whole sort of adage of working smarter, not harder, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm
just
trying
efficient with your time, and everyone loves that.
Yes, hopefully.
Everyone appreciates that.
So anyway, it's super interesting, like I say, starting afresh on a new channel. And anyone listening to the podcast, more than welcome to go there and subscribe. It is a bit more informal, and I've been trying to focus on the roads as well. I'm learning all the new roads around like South Wales, down to North Devon, Mendips as well, and the Cotswolds. So I've been trying to talk a bit more about where I am and why I'm riding that location and stuff. I found a great gravel road over the tops in Wales on the 890 Adventure. That was a great ride, loved it. And then back down some twisties and then to Baffle House as well.
I really want to see that. Was it open when you went? I take it.
Yeah, I went on it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think they said.
Is it okay?
It's great. I mean, it's small. It's a really, really great sort of bike shed-esque space that they've got, but they've got cars as well. And I think it brings in car enthusiasts as well as motorcycles as well. But
you're not into your rugby either, are you? Because that was another thing for me, because I know George North is like an investor in it, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely love being Welsh. I have to. It's kind of written in your birth certificate even. But I really like, so I remember seeing him promoting it and I was like, I really want to go.
What I'd say is like, go for the roads, because the roads are incredible down there.
Of course.
And then tie it into your route. But I wouldn't say, for me, even from here, it's like an hour and a half on the bike. I wouldn't go there for a coffee.
No, I figure it's a small enough. I don't figure it's enough of a kind of point of interest. It would probably hold your attention for half an hour or something, get a coffee, and then you're off. So
Exactly.
I would definitely make the roads my focus for sure.
There's a few other places I need to check out, though. There's a place that's been recommended in Gloucester called the Oily Rag. That's meant to be good. Similar kind of idea. There's a new one in the Cotswolds called, I think it might be called Koti, Koti. Similar kind of vibe. And also Caffeine and Machine is not that far. The other thing I passed the other day, mate, was this like American style diner sort of over towards Oxford. That's at like a service station, but it looks really cool. I think I've seen some car vloggers go there as well, so I'm going to try and hit that up. I obviously have to wait till you can dine indoors, but we're not far away from that, so that might make a good little vid. But I've been on the road a lot, mate. Like the other big challenge I've been finding is just the amount of motorway miles that I've been doing. So if I've got to go and pick a press bike up, I've been to BMW and KTM a few times recently. I know this sounds like the worst sob story ever because there's no hardship about it. But just in terms of like, you need to put out a decent amount of content in order to keep the channel ticking over and actually get a full-time living from it now. And you need to go and pick the press bikes up. And it just, it writes off, they're 2 hours each way for both of those places, and there's a bit of time getting ready to go, and then obviously locking all the bikes up when you get back, and also doing the paperwork, swapping the bikes over or whatever. If you need to stop as well, like 5 hours, so that's more than half a working day gone, so you can't really shoot a video that day. And so I've just been doing so much motorway riding. I went up to Triumph a couple of times recently as well. It's given me a massive appreciation for bikes that are good on the motorway. I already felt that, but
it's a shame because I'm always looking for a new bike, ever looking for a new bike. But one of the things I really want now, and I don't think you can get the balance, you just can't get the best of both worlds with it, but I want one that can do motorway stuff, which is such an unsexy reason to buy a bike. Like, it'll chomp down miles. It's got cruise control. It's super comfortable.
Honestly, mate, I'm just going to say it. You need to try the 890 Adventure because you really like the 390, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I did like the 390. Yeah.
It's like that, but without any compromises. So you know how with that you're like, it's good, but it's a bit underpowered because obviously it's small capacity. And also, I don't know if you saw Fortnine's review of the 390 Adventure where he kind of said...
I did. And I remember I liked the bike. And then I watched his and went, oh, did I like the bike?
Well, at least you kind of done your review first. So you got your own opinion out there. But, for anyone listening who hasn't seen it, the gist was that he felt that the chassis was like fundamentally the same as the 390 Duke, and with a tiny bit of extra ground clearance, but not substantial enough changes to the geometry and all that kind of thing. And it was quite a lot more expensive, so you may as well just go for the 390 Duke. So that's a compromise. Like I say, the power, and there just isn't any of that on the 890 Adventure. Obviously, it's a way more expensive bike. It's a different category altogether, but it still has the same feel to it in many ways to me. Sort of quite a light throttle, and they've added inertia, they've added mass to the engine to make it more kind of revvy, but it's still not revvy, more torquey feeling in the low revs. But to me it still feels like it just responds really quickly to the throttle input, and it kind of goes up and down the revs quite quickly. So it felt similar in that way compared to something like a Bonneville where it kind of has a vroom kind of slow thing. It's just much more modern feeling. Similar, obviously, in its looks and the kind of components and build quality and that kind of feeling of off-roadiness, I think, because it's quite plasticky and sort of modern. And
so I think the reason I think that it looks like a sweet spot. Obviously, I haven't ridden it. We rode the 890 Duke, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which
Duke
we
R.
both liked. Yeah. Which is great. So I knew what the engine was capable of. I know it is slightly better than the 790, and obviously I've ridden the 390. And the reason I like that one is because it's small and light and flickable. It feels manageable, as opposed to getting something like the 1290 where you go, it's great, but if you come a cropper, if you don't know what you're doing with that adventure bike, if you have to step off it and push it anywhere, or just anything like that, you want something a little bit more small and manageable, less intimidating. And I think the 890 looks that way, so it's good to know that it performs the same.
Proper good, mate, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you jump it?
No. Okay.
No?
No. I tell you what, borrowing all these bikes back to back and putting in so many miles, I'm just very cautious now about sort of like my riding, and the fact that I'm doing so many miles means it's quite easy to end up zoning out if you've been riding all day. And I think also, like, just if I'm speeding, or like if I do go down and injure myself, then that's like my income gone for, unless I just sit at home and do voiceovers again. And also speeding and stuff, I just feel really cautious about everything like that. So I'm kind of just taking it easy and not trying to impress anyone with my riding, because Bike World with like Chris Northover reviewing every bike and jumping it and all sorts, and they know all the good roads around South Wales for that kind of thing. That's not what I'm doing. I'm more kind of reportage.
It's also hard to make that stuff look good as well.
Yeah.
As in, you can't just sort of dip a toe and be like, I got like a foot off the ground. It's like, to make it look good, you need to do some real good stuff.
It needs
Otherwise, it just doesn't sell on the camera.
Yeah, it needs to be proper full send, doesn't it? Like full send. Otherwise, there's no point. And I know I can't do that stuff. And to try and do it your first few times on a press bike in front of the camera, it's just, and especially like being on your own out there as well, it's just a bad idea. So obviously there's been loads lately that I've been out on. I had the Tiger 850 Sport around the same time, and then I had the Tiger 900 Rally Pro before that. So that was a interesting comparison, not just between the two Tigers, but also with the 890. I definitely feel like the 890 is the one that I'd pick for if I was doing slightly more off-roading, because of that low...
Even over the Trident, like, or the off-road, the rally version?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. It's got those tanks that hang down either side, the fuel tanks, they come down either side and they sit really low. It looks like almost like a Boxer Twin, but it's got the engine in the middle and then the fuel tank wrapped around, and it sits low. But also they say the thing is as well, it doesn't, because the fuel's like separated that down there, it doesn't slosh the same. So so if you had a full tank and it's up high, so it's got a lot of leverage up there, and if the fuel's kind of sloshing around the tank,
I suppose, because it's like half the amount in each side of the tank then, isn't it?
Yeah, and just the way they've
effect.
designed it, it's profound. Like how much effect it has on keeping the weight of the bike super low, and how much it makes it feel stable and manageable, despite being a big adventure bike. I mean, a lot of people's criticisms of like adventure bikes for off-roading is that, well, why wouldn't you just buy a CRF or something little like that?
Yeah.
It's designed to be an all-rounder. That's my kind of response to that, I suppose, is that on that bike you can do motorway, you can do a bit of gravel, and you can do twisties as well, no problems. Brakes are great, suspension's great. Like I said, the engine's the 890 Duke engine, just tuned down a bit. So what's not to love about that? But out of all of those kind of mid-capacity, I suppose, adventure bikes, it's definitely the one that I was least scared of. You know, when you just have those moments, those heart in the mouth moments where you can't quite get a foot down or whatever. They happen a lot when you're pushing the bike around on like a gravel road trying to get a good photo. It happens a lot less often to me on that bike, and it didn't really kind of have that top heaviness that can be challenging with them. So I love that. Tiger 850 Sport as well, mate. It has to be said, at 9,300, strip away all the stuff off the bigger ones, all the fancy electronics, and all you're left with is like that great engine with that amazing sound, some decent suspension, non-adjustable, but not sure anyone's that bothered. You still get the Brembo stylemas from the whole rest of the range, with braided brake hoses, radial master cylinder, all that kind of thing. And then just a simple dash without the phone connectivity. And I was riding that thinking, there's something to be said for this bike. You know, no quick shifter, no heated grips and all that stuff. It was just interesting if you could access that version of any bike, you know?
Like stripped back, sort of bare boned or more bare bones. No, I get you. I get the appeal of that. It's funny that that's the one though, because it doesn't strike me, even if you strip away the stuff, it seems too big and sensible to feel like a real simple stripped back machine. And I say that as someone obviously at the moment who's mostly riding on a Ducati Scrambler, which you cannot get more basic than. So I get what you mean, but yeah, compare it to other ones. I agree with you. It's nice to have both of those. It's nice if you're doing your motorway mileage or you're doing longer trips to have something, like as you say, with all of that stuff on. And then if you just want to swing a leg and go for a cheeky Sunday afternoon, then that's where you want that stripped back basic or motor.
I mean, there is a halfway house, which would be something like the Urban GS, which I had as well for 2 weeks. I had the 40th anniversary one. That is really simple in the cockpit. You know, it has a single speedo with a little, like a LCD insert. So pretty common on, you know, retro style bikes, I suppose, like the Street Twin. It's probably what you've got on yours, isn't it? Anyway, simple in the dash. There's no TFT or anything, but as standard, you get lean sensitive ABS. Now, you can get like an off-road riding mode if you upgrade. I think you can get cruise control, heated grips, lean sensitive traction control as an optional extra as well. So you could essentially spec that bike like right up to have all the rider aids that you'd find on the equivalent naked bike in, you know, modern naked bike in their range. But even with all of it added on as a riding experience, you don't see any of that stuff. You know, you're not encouraged to go in and choose from 9 levels of lean sensitive ABS and traction control. You just have one button to cycle through the modes. And so I think the R9T does a really good job of that.
I get that. I like them being there, but as you say, I like them being there, but not in your face, not overtly there.
Yeah.
So that it does it without you knowing that it's doing it. That is as you say, that's the sweet spot.
Definitely. And then I swapped that Urban GS for one that I've got at the moment, the 1250 GS, which I've got to say, Tim, because I don't think you've ridden one either, have you?
No, I haven't.
I hate to say it, but it is like 11 out of 10 good.
Really?
Yeah. Because
there's an air of confidence that anyone that's got that kind of bike, so the GSs, and that you just sort of go, is it earned? Like, is it that good? And you just until you've ridden it. It's interesting to know then, in your opinion, that
you know, you look at the sales charts for the UK for the best selling models. And it's like last year, it's the Royal Enfield Interceptor was third. The next one's the 1250 GS. Like number one is the GS Adventure. And they both sell more than the Interceptor. So ultimately, if you combine those two figures, it's selling twice as many as like the nearest thing, which is like a budget bike, you know, that is built to sell in high volumes at $5 or $6 grand. And most of the GSs and GS Adventures, by the time they're spec'd up and leave the dealers, they're probably getting on for 20 grand. The amount of money that's coming in through that. And you must think, well, it has to be proper good. But obviously you approach it with caution. You don't want to sort of jump on it and just say, yeah, it's brilliant. I almost wanted to not like it in a way, just...
Or wanted to be sort of like underwhelmed or like measured, where you're like, it's okay, but it's,
Yeah, is it just hype, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, it has got everything, mate. The press bike, it's got, I think it's 21 grand's worth of all in. And I don't know what it starts at, but it has like the SOS button, the Akrapovic exhaust, the spoke wheels that are extra, because it's not the Adventure, it's the GS. It's got the triple black paint job, which is like another 800 quid. Heated seats. I don't know. It's got everything. It's just got everything. Oh, and because it's the TE, the kind of premium version it's got. This is the biggest thing for me. The ride quality is just unbelievable. It's got the dynamic sort of electronically adjustable stuff that semi-active or adaptive, I guess.
Yeah.
It just feels so soft, like a comfy sofa, yet it doesn't wallow, doesn't feel like a blancmange. It like handles, but you feel like you're on a cloud.
Which is a really rare thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because if they feel, if you go for comfort, then you sacrifice precision. If you go for precision, you sacrifice comfort. If you can get something that does both, it's just unheard of. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, massively. And also the paralever front end, is it?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It's like a wishbone with a monoshock, and then the forks are empty. They're just sliders, essentially. So that the whole idea of that is you separate the suspension duties from the turning duties, and it leads to kind of like a more kind of always anti-dive for a start, but also a kind of precise feel of handling, and it does feel great.
It doesn't dive. If you were to yank on the brakes, it doesn't dip the nose in or anything.
Not as much, I would say so. The other thing I was expecting is a bit of the feel of the R9T. The R9T, right. I feel like you need to learn to ride it a bit to get the most out of it. It likes sort of like accurate rev matching because the clutch is like a big single plate drag clutch. But once you get it, it's well satisfying, and I love riding it. I was expecting some of that feel, but obviously it's just so much more modern. It's got a shift cam and everything, and it's just like some of the same, obviously the exhaust note and the sound, just coming from the intake and stuff is like distinctively BMW, but it's just far more modern, and it just works perfectly. It's just so good. It's really powerful, really smooth, doesn't vibe too much at high speeds. Quick shifter on it is insane, especially with the Akrapovic exhaust. It's just like brah, 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 just bangs through the gears. Big heavy bike, but makes light work of it. I just expected to think it was too big and cumbersome, and it doesn't feel it.
So, I'm impressed by that. But when I say that, it's like an air of confidence that borders on arrogance with some of them that sort of have it. And Stu from the Bike Shed, if you know Stu, don't you?
I think so.
From the Bike Shed.
I think I met him.
So one of the sort of big chiefs there really manages the place. But so they did the retro race, Cafe Racer Cup.
Yeah, down at Liddon Hill, is it? In Kent.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to the second one of that, but on that one they had a few different classes, and one of the classes they did was I think they called it like the Commuter Cup. And they used, so it was like, Gareth had his Africa Twin, and there was a few different Africa Twins, there was a few BMWs and stuff. And Stu's a good rider anyway.
Yeah.
But of the flock, and one of the rules was they had to have a top box as well, so that, just really properly laid out as a commuter bike. And he absolutely blitzed it. He was stonkingly fast around that thing on a GS. And it was very impressive the way he managed to, I want to say muscle that thing round, but now listening to you talk about it, it doesn't sound like it's that much of a handful to ride fast. So yeah, it's impressive, but it all just goes into the argument for it being a fantastic bike.
Yeah.
It's just a damn shame that it's more than either of us can afford for the time being anyway. I don't know what your finances are like, but
I could sell my Trident and use it as a small deposit. I mean, the only thing I would say about the Boxer Twin is it does have that kind of very smooth and predictable delivery, and although it's characterful in that you don't really get Boxer Twins from anyone else, it does almost lack a bit of growl. And so the 1290 Adventure, Super Adventure, I'm due to pick that up on Friday. So I'll have them both for a bit of the same amount of time. A bit of overlapping time. So that'll be an interesting comparison, because I have the 1290 Super Duke at the moment. Basically, I had
Yeah.
the 890 Adventure. I wanted the 1290 Adventure to compare them, but just with press bike availability, there was a week, and they were like, "Look, why don't you just take the Super Duke in the middle? We've got one free." And I was like, "I'd be crazy
yeah.
not to."
If I must.
But the engine is super impressive, and of course, it's the same thing but different tune in the Super Adventure.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make for a hell of a bike.
Is it a handful? Is it a little bit raucous?
The Super Duke.
Raucous? Yeah. It looks it. I mean, if you look, it looks intimidating.
It's hard to say because I feel like you can only compare a bike with the rest of the bikes in its class because it's built for a certain intent, right? It's really partly a track bike. It's proper performance based. So I was running late, actually. I left it till after lunch on a Friday to leave, and it's 2 hours each way. And I wanted to be back for 5 for, with the kids and dinner and stuff. And I left on the 890 Adventure and munched up the 2 hours. No problems. It's perfect, that bike. It honestly, for that kind of thing, screen up, cruise control on, and I just found it so comfortable. I jumped on the 1290 and sort of set off back. And the thing that I found about it was it is usable because it's a V-twin, so it's not all top-end revs. It's reasonably comfortable. Obviously, it's further forward than an adventure bike. But on the motorway, it has cruise control, so they obviously expect people to bang out a few motorway miles on it. But I just found that, let's say you got within 20 meters of a lorry and it starts to buffet, and maybe you get stuck behind because it's a 2-lane, A-road or something. The closer you get in, because of the sort of steepness of the steering angle to give it that really sharp turn in, it starts to it's not as weighty as well. So if you're getting buffeted, it starts to affect the bike. It was fine. You could ride through it and manage it. But even with a steering damper, it feels quite twitchy, and I just wouldn't want to do a lot of that kind of riding on it. But like I say, that's not a criticism of the bike. That's the class of bikes. They're all going to be like that.
Yeah, to a degree. I agree with you to a degree. I do find with the KTMs, like the 790, the 890, they are sharper than I would probably want my bike to be. I remember the comparison I did was the 790 and the Street Triple. And I obviously like a Street Triple, but the difference for me was just how stable it feels almost, because there's a bit more weight at least to a Street Triple, or at least there used to be. But compared between the two of them, it's just they called the 790 a scalpel when it first came out, and I don't always want to ride a scalpel. I don't always want to be on edge and alert. I want to kind of sometimes at least be able to kind of chill out and just have a relaxing corner. But obviously there's a benefit to be able to being able to sort of change your direction really quickly and just snap it somewhere.
Yeah.
If you need it for agility, it's great, but sometimes it's nice just to flow and just to fly, essentially. And I find that with other bikes more so. So yeah, I get what you're trying to say. And I wonder how much that would compare then to, I'm trying to think what the rest of the field would be for the 1290 Super Duke, which would be, I suppose it's playing around like with MT10s and
CB1000R,
I suppose. Yeah,
CB1000R, new Speed Triple will have the same amount of power as the Super Duke as well, 180.
Yeah,
and then obviously the ZH2 and Street Fighter V4. Probably
I
more
think
the
the ZH2 would be more sedate in handling, maybe than the Super Duke. Maybe I'm wrong.
Quite possibly.
The Speed Triple and the MT10 definitely were more stable for me than well, it was a smaller KTM, but some of the KTMs.
I'm getting the Speed Triple on the 20th, so I got a couple of weeks. Well, less than a couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one. But yeah, I read a few reviews of that so far, and it sounds like it is quite harsh for the road, is what people were saying. On the other hand, though, I think Bike World just put up their review of the new Monster, Ducati Monster, and they said that it was quite weird, actually. They compared it with the Trident and the 890 Duke R. I don't really see the Trident as a competitor for those two bikes, but I think they were just trying to frame it as like the Trident's super friendly on the road, and that's what I really like about it. You can thrash it a bit, but also, like you say, you're not constantly being encouraged to push it, and it's not a handful in any way, really. And they said that the new Monster is like in between those two, and I thought, oh, that sounds very interesting, because the 890 Duke was awesome, but just always begging me to go that bit quicker, and it probably wasn't as good for cruising around in sort of general duties, because actually when I'm using my own bikes, it's to go and pick stuff up. So I'm not necessarily looking for like the fastest, most thrilling ride. But yeah, I really want to try the new Monster. I think that's probably a good halfway house, let's say.
Yeah.
Although,
always a fun.
how's your Ducati ownership going so far? Like, has it improved in terms of your sentiment towards owning an Italian temperamental motorcycle?
I'm going to disconnect it with the Italian temperamental motorcycle category, only because there's the same sort of cliches about Italian bikes.
Yeah.
But I didn't find any of it owning the Moto Guzzi V7.
True.
I might have done with the Grezzo because the Grezzo was older and there were certain quirks on it, and it was, I don't know, it probably wasn't the best condition when I got it, to be perfectly honest. But so there was little things with that, but the V7 gave me no complaint at all, and I love that thing. So I would be reluctant to just say it's an Italian thing. What I would say is it has, let's say, quashed my kind of, or quashed? Reduced.
Yeah.
I'm probably making up words there. One of them was a real word ticket. My passion for Ducati, I would say, has been somewhat subdued. I think I like them. I love my dad's Monster. I like that kind of old school bike, but there is just something. I was saying to you before we started. I took it out on the weekend, and I am trying to fall in love with it, I suppose. Every time I take it out, I try to fall in love with it. And you shouldn't have to work that hard to like it. I like it. And when I'm sat here, and it's a sunny day, I get the itch to sort of go out and ride. I really want to go out and ride it. And I like looking at it, and the sound of it is really good. But there's just something with it. And whether it is that it started off more unreliable than I would like it to have been for a new bike, there's just something where I have to sort of convince myself almost that it's with me to stay, that it's here for a little while.
Well, fingers crossed for you, mate, because it's expensive business, isn't it, hopping through bikes? But you may...
Well, it is, exactly, yeah, and I wanted to stick with something for a little while because I want to put stuff on it for touring, like, even just panniers and stuff, but investing any money in a bike that you don't think you're going to keep just feels like a waste, so that's always a bit of a battle. But no, the other thing I would say with that as well, actually, is that I know the Scrambler, I think maybe you even mentioned this to me last time we spoke, but the Scrambler is different to Ducati as in general. That is, it's like a sub-branch, if you like. Yeah. So I'm not even sure I would hold that against the rest of Ducati, because owning a Monster would be very, very different, I'm sure, to owning a Scrambler. So yeah, maybe I'll hang fire on my kind of condemnation of Ducati, but yeah, I always like riding them, especially Monsters.
Well, you never know. You might end up with a V7 again, especially pending sort of, I've got an opportunity to ride the new one that came out of the blue. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a good write-up and then you'll be tempted again, hopefully.
I will be. It's on my list. So I was saying as well that I haven't had as much time as I would like to go out and test ride stuff, but I think the first two on my list, as we've spoken about, is the V7 and the 85 TT, the 85 TT. Well, and both of those I really want to... I think they'll be my first two bikes. If I can book something in the next 2 weeks or something like that, I'll be taking them out for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I'm sure we can find a time to do that, but yeah, the V7, it was actually a customer at Fowler's who watches my channel and hadn't passed their test. I won't mention any names because they may not want to be identified, but they just said the bike's sitting at Fowler's. I haven't got my Mod 2 because it's been delayed because of COVID. They're all backed up. So do you want to just go and ride it while it's being sat there to put some running in miles on it and make a video sort of thing? Because he saw that I hadn't had a review of it up yet. And to be honest, I haven't been contacting Moto Guzzi yet this year for any bikes. We'll see if I might do later in the year directly, but I've just been so busy with other stuff. And I just thought, that sounds like a great opportunity. But yeah, I think he actually managed to get a test move forward and passed it. So he's going to pick it up. But he said I can pick it up from his house over. He's not far away from me, obviously, with being a Fowler's customer. So, and it's the Centenario. But would you...
That's the pretty one. It looked good for the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have to just snap their hand off, wouldn't you, Tim?
Me, yeah, absolutely. No, I was looking. I was trying to think which one I preferred. Actually, I've looked at them an awful lot. You get the bug when you just go on Instagram and trawl through looking for bike porn, and I found some great some real top quality stuff. But yeah, the black stone version, I think that's the one I would go for. I like the Centenario. I like the color scheme with that one, but I don't know if it would feel bad changing anything on it, tweaking it. Whereas the black one, you would feel like you could. And I like the classics. I like the chromed out versions, except for the fact that they've changed. Like the headlight, it's real simple things, but all of the lights on the classic one are old
eagle.
school. Yeah, the new ones, the stone have got the eagle motif on the headlight, and the tail light is the new sort of sleek one, and the indicators are those sleeker ones as well. So there's little bits to the look that actually make it just more modern looking and just nicer, I think, despite the fact that it's got the dual clocks, which I always quite like as well. So yeah, it's a tough decision between the two, and the color schemes as well, because I quite like the blue version. But I would be... I could see myself on one for sure, but I think similar kind of argument that we've been going through is wanting to get something that does mileage easily. Yeah. And my V7 was easy enough to do mileage on, but nothing like amazing. You wouldn't think there was enough of a difference between the Ducati Scrambler and the V7 in terms of comfort mileage wise, but actually having ridden both of them, it's amazing. The Scrambler is just not made for doing long distance because it's just not a comfortable place to be for 2 hours.
No. Yeah.
So I would prefer to be on something, even the V7 without anything on there, as basic as it is, as simple as that bike is, I still think much more comfortable to do sort of motorway stuff on or just touring.
Yeah, I think you're due an adventure bike, can't you, from the sounds of things?
Yeah, I am. Apart from the fact that I always say, I'm not ready for a dad bike yet, except that on one of the reviews, I think it was the Tiger, someone... It made me laugh. They said, you're calling it a dad bike. Sorry, what did you ride again? The CB 1300? I was like, oh yeah, no, good point. I was like, yeah, I can't argue the toss on that one. That was, I'm just going to give you a clapping hands and a laughing face with tears, because that was a good comment and I have no comeback to it, no retort.
Speaking of dad bikes, adventure bikes, I did also see the Pan America in the flesh last week. It was doing the VIP tour where they put it in a truck and drive it around all the dealers. And because of COVID, you have to book a time slot. You can go and sit on it and sort of have a good poke at it. And so I booked a slot just to film a quick video, which went up today. Just kind of first impressions. Does seem pretty good.
Did you, if you were on it, did you get to sort of start it up even sitting on it or not? Just
nah, they said I could. I asked, as always.
You're like, but I'm MOTOBOB. Have you seen my channel?
That wouldn't literally never work. People just be like, no, mate.
I'd imagine that's what people assume, though, that you can just walk in and be like, yeah, I've got a YouTube channel.
Well, look,
give me a go.
I do say,
but I know that's not the case.
Yeah, well, I always say people ask me if is this shop good or is this service good? I never review kind of customer service because you do get a different level of service, especially if people do know the channel and stuff. But yeah, there are still many, 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 many motorcycle shops and dealerships and services out there that just have never seen it. And also because a lot of it's voiceover as well. A lot of people don't know who I am. So
no, I'm messing, man. I was just curious whether or not you'd got to start it because of the we were talking about the suspension. I think was with that one of the massive things was that lowering adjusting suspension.
The adaptive ride height. So because it was switched off, it was in its low position. So I did get to comment on the fact that it does feel really accessible and low.
Okay.
But the build looks kind of cool and it had all the accessories on. So, but I think they don't have demo bikes until. I think they've done the US media launch because loads of videos went up, but I think it's the 20th or so of this month that they're doing their UK one in Wales, and then hopefully I'll be able to get hold of one soon after that. So That's pretty cool. And I also took out the Street Bob 114, which is like proper cruiser style spokes, mini ape hangers. Yeah, just took that for a blast around the Welsh Hills because I went to film the Pan America, but I was like, if I'm riding over here, I may as well take a demo and just
Of course.
And that's one of the big updates in their range for this year. They haven't changed a lot, but that went up. You could only get it with the 107 version of their engine, cubic inches, but you can now get it in the full fat 114. And it's been a while since I've ridden a Harley. And I was like,
Has it been a while? Have you done much with the ape hangers before as well? Was that a new thing
that took a while. Honestly, low speed maneuvers were so scary because they say it's the lightest soft tail with the 114 engine, so effectively it should be pretty fast, you know, lightweight, but has the most powerful engine. But when we're talking like lighter, it's still nearly 300 kilos, like fueled up and all that. And it's long and it's got the apes. And I felt like my clutch control wasn't, you know, the levers aren't adjustable and they're quite chunky. So I couldn't quite, especially because they're up here, I didn't feel like I could get over them.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, I mean, once you're moving, it's great. And there's so much torque there. It's an easy enough bike to ride. But yeah, definitely doing the low speed maneuvers. Like I said earlier, I'm just trying to be super cautious at the moment, that I'm not just going out and riding and not kind of being careful with other people's bikes and stuff. And so I was really timidly tiptoeing that one around just to make sure. I don't know if you noticed as well, Harley side stands are scary.
Oh God, yeah.
They don't seem like they're down.
Yeah, but they're made of I want to say like a fish knife. Like what's the sort of like the thinnest of butter knives that they're made of, and it just looks like it's gonna snap.
Yeah, so that was quite nerve-wracking, especially sort of if you're on a hill and you've put it in first to stop it rolling away, and it's on gravel and stuff. You know, sometimes you put it down on gravel and it in fact, there's a bit of GoPro footage where I was talking to my camera. But I'd already mounted my GoPro on the handlebars and I was editing it. And I remember at one point, I'm like, oh, so here I am in blah, blah, blah with the Street Bob 114. And then the bike must have just been on like a stone.
Yeah.
And it just slipped off it. And I was like, oh my goodness. You see it on the camera, you can see the camera wobble.
Yeah.
It took a bit of getting used to, especially with the riding position, but it was good fun. I'd say the only thing is, the liquid-cooled sort of Milwaukee 8 engines are much quieter than the air-cooled ones, and it just needs pipes so badly. It just feels fundamentally pointless riding a quiet Harley, and you can't...
Oh, yeah.
You know.
It does. I mean, it's double-edged, isn't it? Because if you get them too loud, they really are. They can be obnoxiously loud, uncomfortably so, and you just sort of... Even as a bikie, you hear them right past, you're like, oh,
yeah.
Right. But a Harley with like a stock quiet exhaust on... I thought the same when I took out the street as well, and I was just sort of like, yeah, it needs a rasp to it. It needs something.
I wouldn't ever say like it needs straight through pipes, but maybe the compromise is like one of the accessories, maybe the Screaming Eagle.
Yeah,
pipes where it's like still
but
road
it needs to be
legal,
louder than stock for sure.
Yeah, and then the other
especially
thing,
when you sort of, if you were to ride it from stock, like a Triumph Bonneville stock. Sounds good. It has a noise to it. Like the exhausts still sound okay. You don't necessarily need to change them. Compare that, you know, if you can buy a stock Bonneville that's louder than the stock Harley, it just seems wrong.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. The other thing I was going to say about as well, just to wrap up on the Street Bob, was the brakes as well, just on a heavy bike. I was up like the Regos Mountains and that kind of area.
Okay.
And sort of coming downhill into a hairpin turn with a 300 kilogram bike with a single disc. And you're squeezing and you're like, come on. But they've got big, like full size discs on the rear, haven't they, on Harleys? Like it'd be like a 300.
Yeah, like the Indians do as well. I guess that's a cruiser thing, but yeah.
Yeah, well, they kind of rely on the back brakes, but you definitely got to use both, basically, unless you enjoy late braking and scaring yourself a bit. Anyway, I think that's probably it for today, Tim.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why don't we do a Q&A episode next week if we get time? We could post up on the group if anyone's got any questions, since it's been a while.
I think, yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, let's do a Q&A. I was also going to say I wanted to put something in the group and ask what people's favourite bike they've ever owned was as well, because I was just curious, and a short kind of reason for it. So I'll put that in there as well.
I'd say first half that, second half Q&A. Perfect.
Boom.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you next time.